Hello, everybody, and what am I doing here? I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm so glad to be back. If you hear the echo, I am still not in my own house yet. It is so frustrating. Um, I am here because, for one, it is the finale of the book of Boba Fett. I did not want to miss this. Um, we did have plans to have people join us, but unfortunately, we're not able to make it. But that is okay.
We miss you, James.
I am here with Katie. She is also excited about this. We're going to be talking some rumors about Obi-Wan Kenobi. We got some announcements about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then we're going to jump right into this. But of course, we do have the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network paperwork like we do every single week. And because I am fresh off of this, I'm going to go ahead and plug everything right now. Of course, we have 8 shows, 7 days a week on a weekly and bi weekly schedule. That bi weekly schedule starts off, of course, on Sundays with a slice of film with Katie here. That is on hiatus currently, but it will be coming back soon. Then on Mondays, there is, of course, World's Finest True Believers and Ranger Alliance. We're going back and forth. And also, just an update on that. There is something special coming. Not going to say what. We've already teased it, or at least Chris has teased it. There's actually going to be a double whammy of World's Finest True Believers coming up soon. So, World's Finest True Believers will be dropping twice this month, back to back. And then Ranger Alliance will drop twice, back to back. And then we will be back on our regular schedule. Now, of course, the other two bi weekly shows is, of course, oh shoot. Well, I guess
Walk
it's
through
only
the.
one. Only one is Walk Through the Multiverse on Saturdays with Joe. Of course, the last episode, I believe, was the Warrior Nun. I think he has some stuff planned for this coming Saturday, I believe. And then, of course, we have our weekly scheduled stuff, that being, of course, DC Alliance coming on every single Monday. And I might surprise Hines tonight with another, if I can somehow get the viewing of Superman and Lois in between now and the time we were supposed to record today. Don't know if that's even possible, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We record, of course, or we go live, should I say, on Monday nights and Wednesday nights because of Superman and Lois. Then, of course, there is superhero discussions. Then there is Star Wars Alliance, us, yay. Of course, there is also uh, Marvel Alliance as well. Now, the really big thing, Batman is coming up. It looks like a majority of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network hosts have actually gotten tickets to go see the fan screenings. So that is very, very fun. I believe my co-host for Batman News Weekly is going to want to do a review immediately after, just for high-level thoughts, and then we're going to release it later. So I probably won't be able to jump on the GUA non-spoiler review that we're planning for Patreon, but it is being planned. So there is that. Of course, Star Wars, Marvel, and DC all have their separate feeds. Go check them out. But it's very important to check out the Star Wars feed. Why? Because this is the last week to jump on the train to get the omnibus for Star Wars The Old Republic. Now, I have been off of this podcast for quite some time, but I have been seeing all of the very lovely feedback that we have been getting. We've been getting a lot of love on that post. A lot of people have been interacting, so I'm hoping that we get to see a lot of names into that drawing. Finally, it looks so good. So, we're going to be doing that next week, of course. We're going to make sure all of that is taken care of, and we're going to draw the name next week. Of course, that is Organic Price Books that is giving us the opportunity to give this book away. That is, well, I will say this. Organic Price Books is the greatest place to probably buy all of your collected trades and omnibuses of comics. They package everything greatly. It's so amazing the way they take care of stuff. And then, of course, for our international listeners that are also jumping in on this giveaway, you're unfortunately not going to be able to get the book, but you are going to be able to get a $100 gift card in order to get other omnibuses that may pique your interest, including I believe, well, we have some inside information, but just keep an eye out on Organic Price Books. Put that in your bookmarks. There are some really cool announcements coming in the future for Star Wars related content. So go check it out. Now,
I know you speak about omnibuses. I've got to find the rest of the IDW High Republic Adventures series
yeah,
because
that was going
that's
to be
not going to
rough.
get collected.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and maybe I could talk to, what's his name? Oh gosh, Zakai, I think is his name.
Yes.
Um, he he gets his stuff bound, so maybe I could talk to him and like see who he talks to because I like the trades a
He
lot better.
I will say he does something very, very cool that I have thought about doing a long time ago in the past, and then I was just like, but that requires you to rip those pages out
Mm-hmm.
of the original binding and then make your own threading and like it's a great looking, it's like old school classic like yearbook esque type of
Yeah.
bounding. It looks amazing. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, maybe we will share something. I don't know if he has any Star Wars omnibuses. I'll have to double check. But outside of those, we also have a Patreon. $1 tier, of course, will give you the just thank you to us. $5 tier gives you the exclusive content, which is like just an abundance right now. We have all been planning stuff for the entire year. Uh, and of course, we are a listener and ad supported network. So you are going to be getting ads in this show. And you will we will go ahead and give you like a 3 count, making sure that yes, right there for anybody who is watching the YouTube. Katie just put up the Justice League bounds that Zaki has. It looks amazing. There's
It
some
looks like an encyclopedia run. Like it looks so good.
there are probably some listeners that are like, "What in the world is an encyclopedia?"
This is unfortunately true.
It's scary to think. It's scary to think like that. But we, of course, are going to be letting you know when there are ads. If you don't want to listen to those ads, of course, you can always just be here live with us every single week or on the Patreon, like I said, with that exclusive content and ad free episodes. So, I believe that is everything. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. Katie, you said you wanted to jump into some Obi-Wan Kenobi news. So what's going on there?
All right, so first things first. Hashtag Katie told you because Book of Boba Fett ends today, and lo and behold, we get some magical promotional crap for Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. We have a release
I
date, we have a poster.
I was laughing so hard when you posted that because it started to swarm the Twitter feed, almost like immediately around that like lunchtime, like probably like most of the people that were going to be watching it in the morning have already seen it, and so basically Disney and Star Wars were like, okay, the show's over, let's start promoting a new show, and the next show, of course, is going to be Kenobi. I laughed so hard when all of this stuff started to come out. I will say, great looking poster.
It is a great looking poster, and in Disney's defense, today is the earnings call, I believe, for quarter 1 of like 2022, which was last year, October to December. So today was the earnings call. Um Snell, I already used it. So shut up. I put it on Twitter.
I will say, me and Snell have been going back and forth. I've been proven right on a lot of things. He's been proven right, I guess, on some things, not everything. And I mean, it's only fair that we give you hashtag Katie is right. It's only fair, you know.
Hashtag Katie's right. Um, so I it just blows my mind. Like, what if Boba Fett hadn't gone, like, had 8 episodes and ended next week? Would we have actually gotten Obi-Wan Kenobi news today?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. They're not smart enough to promote 2 shows at once, as I've consistently said. Um, And so, yeah. My question comes in, and this isn't really Obi-Wan Kenobi news, but of course we talked about maybe like a month ago in the Star Wars Insider uh magazine for January, they said that the Bad Batch was coming in spring 2022.
Yeah, we've had this conversation. I'm not entirely sure if they even know that that was published in their own magazine. Like I at this point I don't know.
I don't know either because it's obvious that Obi-Wan Kenobi will be the next Star Wars show because otherwise they would have said something about Bad Batch coming in. So clearly we know Bad Batch season 2 is supposed to come in sometime in 2022. That was what we were told last year when season 1 ended. So we know season 2 is supposed to be this year at some point. Doesn't mean it has to be spring. Spring is technically March to June. And at this point, there's like Bad Batch season 2 would have to pick up next week and they would have to be airing 2 episodes at a time to beat the Moon Knight's release on March 30th. Now you could say that it doesn't really matter long term. I know you brought up, hey, because there was a Miss Marvel rumor lie, whatever you want to call it, on tvtimes.com that said Miss Marvel's first episode is supposed to premiere May 13th.
Yeah, I believe it was Chris that jumped on that. He posted it in the GUA. There was somebody stating that there was something along the lines of I can't remember exactly the network or channel or whatever. It was TV something, Showline or whatever. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it gave the titles and the dates that they were basically going to premiere on. And even Brent said that it didn't make any sense because the premiere date on one of them would go all the way back into like June. And so the dates were just all out of whack. I think this is just one of those cases, like you said, uh, the same people attempted to do it with the Bad Batch, I think you said, or another show, and they got everything completely wrong. So as far as what we can believe, I'm not entirely sure. Um, wasn't She-Hulk ahead of Miss Marvel that is from All in the Game? I believe it is, yes. Now, recently they have given a. Uh, that was Flynn. I don't know what kind of noise that was. I apologize for that. He is so tired today. Um, so, uh, I'm not entirely sure what Disney Plus is attempting to do, in all honesty.
Yeah, that was Hawkeye that they had gotten it wrong. So I don't trust TV Times at this point. They'd have to get a couple things right in order to change the game. Um, but it at this point, I'm more thinking, okay, we're gonna get Bad Batch season 2 in the summer. Probably somewhere along the same time frame as maybe Loki was last year. Because Obi-Wan Kenobi is 6 episodes, so that's gonna take June into the beginning of July. So yeah, I would assume we may get Bad Batch season 2 around then. Um, so we'll see.
I it's very complicated because we have already said this before. Bad Batch was not like the greatest show ever, especially coming in on the uh, ending of course, the uh, Clone Wars season 7 and everything else. Like it had a lot to kind of pick up on, especially
Mhm.
on the hype of everything coming out on Disney Plus. Like I feel like there is a new grade, quote unquote, of shows that Disney Plus has kind of put into like, hey, this is the quality content that we're going to be
Mhm.
putting out. And we did not see it when it came to Bad Batch season 1. There was, I'm not going to say hype, but there was conversation going on when, of course, I think it was Nathan was saying, "Oh, this is the cameo show," and you would see so many different things from either Clone Wars or Rebels, or just kind of jumping in, all over the place during those seasons. or during that season. And that made conversation for a little bit, but it did not sustain the entire week. It wasn't something that people were always talking about. And I wonder if Disney and Lucasfilm noticed that, and maybe they're not super like they're of course they're going to put it out, but I don't think they're just like, hey, it needs to come out immediately. And they're kind of just throwing stuff at the wall as far as like, oh, maybe spring 2022, but if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, you know?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. The other thing I saw today was that maybe Disney would go in the direction of releasing 2 episodes at a time to try and hit it in a smaller time frame, as well as try and tell a more cohesive story, because that was one thing you and I and Nathan talked about, was that they could stand to shrink the amount of time between episodes because it didn't feel like episodes were cohesive and telling a full story. When in all actuality, they were getting close, but it was just you were seeing so much filler type material that you weren't getting enough story. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Um, Again, I think you're gonna force me to cover this, which you've covered Titans, so I guess we can cover this. But I do just also want to point out that like Star Wars animation and Marvel animation have only had one show apiece. What If, and then the Bad Batch season 2. Actually, Star Wars has had 2 technically, but Clone Wars season 7 is just like in a whole different tier, I think. So for me, Bad Batch and What If are like the only animation shows that they've like really put forth. And with What If was getting so much more traction week to week, I think, than the Bad Batch was. Bad Batch would hit maybe like noon, maybe if it was lucky 4 o'clock, and then it would just like, and
Yeah.
you would never hear about it again. Whereas What If you continuously hear about it for 3 or 4 days at least. So I don't see them saying, oh, let's move animated shows maybe to like Monday and then live action shows to Wednesday, because Fridays for Disney Plus are movie release days. Wednesdays are currently TV show releases, and Mondays,
Okay, so
well,
you
are
you
nothing.
said this on the GUA chat. Now, and Brent actually backed you up on it. So I'm not saying that you're lying. I am not entirely sure if I remember even seeing that at all. So I like, where was it that they said, "Oh, Fridays will for sure just be for movies"? Cuz I will be completely honest, you can't say that as a stipulation and then I guess you put out movies for, I guess, just not my criteria and what I want to watch on Disney Plus apparently. But like, what movies is Disney Plus putting out there that is going to hinder the release of these shows?
So it was more in the case of, okay, if we have to explore like a mixed release like they did with Black Widow, because this was the case. Loki was about to premiere and Black Widow was about to come out, and they couldn't promote Black Widow any longer, so they had to release Black Widow. So Black Widow came out on Premiere Access, and here's where we landed. This is an article from Gadgets 360, which I've never heard of, but I Googled and this is the one that came up. So it said Loki just changed Disney Plus for good. The success of the newest Marvel series, Loki Episode 1, is Disney Plus's most watched series premiere to date, has convinced Disney, which I don't think this is true, to move release dates for every Disney Plus original series from Fridays to Wednesdays. Loki was the first to make the switch. But that's reportedly not the only reason, as it's also meant to help Disney Plus accommodate its growing content volume. Only Disney Plus original series are moving to Wednesdays, with Disney Plus original movies continuing to debut on Fridays. That means the likes of The Mandalorian Season 3 and Miss Marvel will premiere on Wednesdays, while movies like Luca and Black Widow will stay on Fridays. I'm not going to read the whole article because there's like a lot of it.
Okay,
But
but also due to the fact that Black Widow was, let's say, a shit show, with the release on Disney Plus, that's no longer a problem. I would not. I would think so. Like I would assume that is now out of the bag. It's not even something that we can even like like. I mean, I guess actually, you know what? I believe there is a new movie with the red panda. I can't remember exactly what it's called. The Pixar movie that is dropping on Disney Plus, And so they could say, "Oh, that's dropping on Friday." So I guess you can say that, like, hey, this is, somewhat still in effect because of stuff like that. But I just don't think there is enough releases going to Disney Plus to hinder the release of two shows in a week.
Well, and I think the other thing you have to take into consideration is movies are more likely to be watched on the weekends. Um, Everybody goes to theaters on the weekends. People have family time. Like for me, it was always we came home and watched movies on Friday nights, and whether that was on streaming, DVD, or theatrical. Now, granted, I had four siblings, so more than often it was we rented a movie and watched it at home. But that's the time of day where people are getting off for the week, and they're like, okay, I want to spend some family time, and people are more likely to spend that time watching a movie where they get a whole condensed story from beginning to end on Fridays. So that's why your movies are going to stick there. You don't want to confuse your audiences by necessarily releasing, and your movies are going to only happen like once a month, maybe if you have like a good movie release. You have like a Friday once a month where it's like, okay, here's a movie. You don't want to cut your parents out of the loop who may be watching the more adult content in the Star Wars live action that's maybe a little too mature for your kids, and instead release that on a weekday where instead those parents, like I know somebody I used to work with, he watches the Star Wars shows on Wednesday nights 9:30 to 10:30 after his kids have gone to bed. So you don't want to alienate those parents when those kids for those parents may be more inclined to watch a Luca or a Red Panda. And so you're cutting those parents off from watching that for a day by releasing the show on a Friday. And same thing for animation. If you were to release your animated shows more friendly for kids, let's kind of leave that condition in there, and you go, okay, we're going to do this here. Well, that may be something you watch at dinner time, or that like is a Saturday morning cartoon, sure, but those are more a 30-minute show is more easily flexed in than an hour 15 movie that's typically going to be watched on a weekend regardless. So,
I can agree with that. I mean, as somebody who doesn't have kids, I'm just like, I can watch both on the same day. It's fine. I promise.
This is my baby.
Of course, Katie is talking about her puppy that she has on screen right now on YouTube. Guys,
Yep.
she doesn't have an actual baby.
No, not yet. Not yet.
But I don't know. Like I for me, I also like big thing for me and my dad back in when I was in high school, especially when Smallville back in the day had three different dates. It was on, I believe it started on Wednesdays, then it moved to Thursdays, and then eventually moved on to Fridays. Fridays were the best because I knew that, at freaking 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., Smallville was coming on. We were going to go get Freebird's burritos. We're going to get, a large thing of Dr. Pepper, some candy, come home, sit down in front of the TV, and just watch Smallville every Friday night. So I can understand those family moments for sure. And I think what's the word I'm looking for? We are trained to just think movie Friday, movie Friday, movie Friday, because movies just released on Fridays, like forever. And then it wasn't until I can't put an exact date on it, but during like the winter breaks or the summer breaks, that's when you start to see movies randomly releasing on Wednesdays or your Thursdays and things like that. It really all depends.
Well, and it also relates to that bedtime factor, right? Which may in fact be why Disney Plus chooses to release stuff at 3 a.m. so people can come home from school and watch whatever shows airing that day, or vice versa, people getting off work. Um, it leaves an opportunity open where you're not dependent on bedtime for those releases.
And me selfishly, I just need to remember that Disney Plus is a place for families, and that is like that was their whole stipulation on content, is that this is
Mm-hmm.
the place for families. So I just need to keep that in my mindset, I think. Um, we kind of just veered off from Bad Batch to talking about release dates and whatnot. But
You're welcome, guys.
before we move on to like the actual Obi-Wan news and stuff, let's go ahead and take our first real quick ad break, and then we will move on to Obi-Wan. So remember, guys, we don't choose these ads. We don't choose how many times they repeat themselves, if they do, or the volume. So I do apologize if I'm about to break your eardrum. But that's why we give you the 3 count. Just turn down your volume just a bit, just to see if it's okay. And we will be right back. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And we are back. So,
Before we do that, sorry, I just refreshed my Twitter feed just to make sure, because you never know what Star Wars news is going to pop up with the hours that scoopers keep and everything. But I did just want to say there was some things that happened on Star Wars Twitter last week. I don't necessarily want to talk about that because about what exactly happened, because that's the victim's right to share her story in particular. But I do just want to say Star Wars Alliance does not condone harassment. It does not condone victim blaming. None of that. We are here for a positive Star Wars environment. Yes, we can still critique Star Wars, but we're always going to be a positive Star Wars family. So keep the harassment out of the comments. If you're harassing people on Twitter, that's not okay. Fix yourself. So with that,
yeah, I will 100% agree with that. Like, for me, I am pretty sure when it comes to this review of the finale of Book of Boba Fett, me and Katie are going to be divided. I am pretty sure. But we know how to either debate or agree to disagree on things. And for the most part with this finale and everything else, I will say I haven't seen too much like really attacking people, which is good to know. But recently, Katie has been filling me in on some stuff that has been happening online, and it's never a great time with stuff like this. So we are just saying this, just as us as individuals, that shit is not okay, and it should never be okay. Whether it be verbal harassment, physical harassment, like just online harassment, bullying, doing whatever. You there is a moral line, and you just know when you're doing something wrong. So let's chill the fuck out when it comes to stuff like that. Cool. Now, Obi-Wan. Katie was very passionate about this announcement. Talking about the positive experience. We assumed, and I think the world assumed, Obi-Wan, when should it drop? Oh, May the 4th. That is the only real date. There is no question about it. That is the only thing that makes sense in this realm of release dates and Star Wars and what it means to the audience and everything else. And then we get the announcement, oh, it's going to drop on May 25th.
which y'all, we know, don't get me started. We know the Star Wars technical anniversary is May 25th. Don't tell us. We know. I promise. We know.
A New Hope, May 25th. What was it? I believe it was Return of the Jedi, May 25th. Solo, May 25th. Like, there is a reason May 25th is important, but I made the argument in our GUA chat. More people, and I will die on this hill. More people know about May the 4th than they do about May 25th.
You would be right. S-Bubs brings up a good point in the chat. May 4th is Doctor Strange 2 Eve. Couldn't drop it there, SMH. I would disagree with you, but I see your point, because my other thing is that the release date celebration is May 26th through the 28th.
Yes.
All in the Game says May 4th is Moon Knight finale. Actually, we don't know that yet, because Hawkeye dropped 2 episodes, and we were assuming that they dropped 2 episodes for Moon Knight March 30th to beat the May 4th deadline. um for Star Wars to release, because as it happens, May 4th is a Wednesday. So it's not like it would be last year where you're dropping Bad Batch um season premiere on a Tuesday and then dropping the second episode on a Friday, which was the original
Yeah.
release for TV shows. You've got May 4th on a Wednesday, which is their TV show release date. So for me, I would have thought, okay, if they're dropping May 4th, if they're going to drop it May 4th, Moon Knight would have had 2 episodes released March 30th. That is not the case, but SBub says 90 to 95% of people who know about May 4th don't know or wouldn't recognize May 25th as a special date.
Exactly. That is what we were saying. Like, people are you get this release date and they're like, and I am pretty sure if I get like even just a regular nerdy person, not necessarily a hardcore Star Wars person, and I'm like, oh man, are you excited about Obi-Wan Kenobi? And they're like, oh, when does it drop? I was like, oh, sometime, this year, near the spring, or, a little bit after. And they're like, oh, it would make so much sense if it dropped on May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. Like, that is what people joke around all the time. People do it all the time. People who I know are not big nerds do it all the time. This was going to be the perfect release date, and they just shat the bed.
As a huge Star Wars fan, I did not actually know that technically Star Wars Day was May 25th until probably 3 or 4 years ago. So, and I've been a big Star Wars fan. I've never paid that much release to like behind the scenes stuff. I've never seen
if
I've
we
never
don't
seen
get a trailer
stuff
before May the 4th, I think I might scream.
If Disney paid for a solo trailer to drop Super Bowl Sunday, if they don't drop an Obi-Wan Kenobi, even a 30-second teaser Super Bowl Sunday, I'm gonna be pissed, because I love Solo. Solo is one of my top Star Wars movies. But how do you bring in this much talent, bring in this much history to Star Wars, and then not promote it on I would say, the most popular TV commercial day of the year?
The most watched network television, show, which would be the
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
So I would say we're going to get a 30-second trailer this Sunday. I mean, they dropped a trailer for Boba Fett pretty soon after they dropped the initial promotional images. So for me, I'm thinking we're going to get something this Sunday. 15 seconds, 30 seconds. I think we're going to get something.
I believe it was, I will say, S-Bubs. I can't remember on which Geekverse live we were watching. But somebody has confirmed, or maybe it was even in the GUA, that Disney is at least dropping 2 Marvel-related trailers in the
Multiverse of Madness as well as Moon Knight.
Yeah. I think it was in the GUA chat. Now, I am willing to put money on it as well, that Disney would be willing to pay the money to put all of their stuff that is coming out recently or soon out on the Super Bowl. But I don't know, Katie. Like, we're like, I swear, we're gonna see Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus Day. We're gonna see it. And then we saw it, and then we found out, oh, that's what all of the investors saw last year. And it was nothing. Like, literally nothing. And then they showed us the art piece or whatever. I can't remember the word off the top of my head, of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fighting on Mustafar. What we assume is Mustafar. And we saw that. And we're like, okay, at least it's something, but it's really nothing. I can't trust Lucasfilm to be like, hey, we're going to treat our fans. Like, I can't anymore. Guys, I host a DC and a Star Wars podcast. Like, I am deep in depression.
Okay, I need you to get this video where you're like, I am deep in depression and I need that gift with like captions and everything.
I'm deep in
Because
depression.
y'all, I am currently unemployed. And if that statement isn't me right now, Clay and I were talking about it before this. And like, I don't know what is. So
It's try being a DC and Star Wars fan. Like, and then on top of that, it's horrible. But I want to be excited about this, and I will go ahead and give him credit. Snell said something in his review today for this finale. What happened in this finale has me a little not like devastated for Kenobi, because I'll never be devastated that one of my favorite Jedi is getting his own shows. But I am a little worried on what Lucasfilm is willing to, put their little grubby fingers on all of these shows and whatnot. So I don't know. Like I look at this poster and I'm like, hey, look, it's Jesus. But I want to be excited for this. I am excited for this, but I'm going to be hesitant about this as well.
especially I think after the hit or miss expectations that Boba Fett had, like I loved some of the episodes that had Boba Fett as a starlight, and then I loved both episodes that we got where Boba Fett was not seen except for a minute and 4 seconds, according to Joe from Walk Through the Multiverse last week. Don't quote me on that. That was a him timing. I did not look at it. But and I think Robert Rodriguez is a phenomenal director, but I wish I need to.
Are we on the same page for this episode? Are we gonna agree?
Oh,
Okay, hold on. Hold the phone. We
okay.
are not in the review yet. Hold on. Okay, so real quick.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, rumor, Grand
Yes.
Inquisitor, Rupert Friend, the end. It's from Bespin Bulletin.
Yeah, I will just say this. If he is even in the talk, not the actor, but the Inquisitor, if he's even in the talks, because there is rumors of other Inquisitors being in this show, but having him, and he was a big part of the beginning of Rebels, and there was just so much there for him and Kanan and Ezra. Like, I am super excited about this if this is real. So I will just say that. Now, other than that, we just took our ad break. It's only been 10 minutes. We're not going to take another one. Let's go ahead and talk about this Book of Boba Fett finale. Spoiler-free thoughts, real quick.
Well,
Katie?
hang on. So Rupert Friend, I would be really disappointed if they couldn't bring back Jason Isaacs to play the Grand Inquisitor. I think he fully matches the role. I mean, they're going to be decked out in body paint regardless, or CGI, whatever you want to do. And so I Jason Isaac is just the perfect villain. And so it disappoints me if this rumor is true. Bespin Bulletin has had a lot of rumors become reality. So I'm inclined to believe them, similarly to like Jordan from Cinelinx. But still, again, as I always say, it's not true until you see it on StarWars.com. So I would love to see Jason Isaacs return. Don't know if we will, but the Grand Inquisitor, with this being 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, it's got a good promise for the Grand Inquisitor still being included, because Rebels is like 2-3 years before A New Hope. So you've got like a 6-year time frame here. So it shows a lot of promise, and I haven't seen anything Rupert Friend has been in. But everyone I've talked to has said he's great. So should be pretty good. As a reminder, Sung Kang and Moses Ingram are currently predicted to be Inquisitors, where Sung Kang is potentially being the 5th brother, according to a picture they got of him on set wearing a headdress. And then Moses Ingram looks very much like she is currently, which states that she could be a different Inquisitor than we've seen previously. So that's just like a kind of roundup of that report. But man, I wish Jason Isaacs was here.
I'm excited either way. Like I said, I am downplaying. Well, not downplaying. I don't know what words are today. I I am still a little hesitant going into Obi-Wan because of Boba Fett, but I am still excited because he is a fan favorite character, and I'm sure that Lucasfilm isn't just like, hey, let's try to destroy this legacy real quick. Like, I know they're not trying to, but I've seen things happen at WB, so you know how things go. Like,
And
it's so grain of salt, like guarding my heart, like I'm a bag full of emotions when it comes to things like this.
and I have seen rumors of this, but I do just want to make sure people are aware. Deborah Chow is the showrunner for Obi-Wan Kenobi. She did a phenomenal job directing her 2 episodes of The Mandalorian Season 1, but there is no recollection or current data on who's going to be directing the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Robert Rodriguez directed 3 episodes in the Book of Boba Fett. Deborah Chow got 2 in The Mandalorian. Bryce Dallas Howard has somehow only gotten 1 episode per season. So I don't picture they're gonna have
show.
She does, but I don't picture they're gonna have Deborah Chow direct her own every single episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So while people are like, okay, we have all the faith in Obi-Wan Kenobi because Deborah Chow's directing. Remember, part of the problem with the Book of Boba Fett has been mainly in the writing, I think. And we're going to talk more about that. So Deborah Chow is the showrunner. We don't have any word on who her writers group or writers room included, but I would imagine she handpicked them. I imagine Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni still have some input, but it remains to be seen. We'll see it as it comes out because Book of Boba Fett, we didn't know who was directing any episodes. I didn't know Steph Green directed an episode until Steph Green directed an episode and we got to see the episode. So again, Lucasfilm and the press, I need you to fix that, guys. Like, please. So with that, I think we're ready for the Book of Boba Fett.
So before we even jump into that, I just want to highlight this comment right here. On the game says, yeah, Favreau's writing ain't always the best, and boy oh boy, I guess non-spoiler or non-spoiler thoughts is woof is all I gotta say.
I can't say I was disappointed with today's episode. I thought it wrapped up everything that it was trying to. Would I have liked to see 2 more episodes of breathing room for Boba Fett and his crew? Yes, I would. Would I have liked to see some cleaner storytelling? Yes, I would have. I think it's very telling that Favreau doesn't really have a writer's room in this. He's writing all of the scripts by himself. He's the only one with script credits, except on a very few episodes between The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. So it would be nice to see somebody else write.
Yes, it would. I think that it's nice to be able to say, oh, look what I have created, look what I wrote. Like, it was very cool to even say, like, Jon Favreau created The Mandalorian. Like, that is cool. Not gonna knock it or anything. But, like, you need to understand that, like, Feige isn't the only one creating the MCU. Like, he controls it. He moves the chess pieces around, and he does all sorts of stuff. But it's like a whole team of things. Like, and I feel like with the Lucasfilm Disney Plus era that we're in, they're keeping everything very close to the chest, and they're like, you made something good. Now make something good forever. And it's just like, that's not how things work. And I do enjoy when they bring in other people for directing. Like we said, it's showing. For me, I never in a million years before Bryce Dallas Howard started to direct these episodes would have ever considered her as, hey, I wonder if Bryce Dallas Howard could direct. Like, I would have never thought of it.
Mm.
And seeing her do it in season 1 of The Mandalorian was okay. That's pretty cool. Or was it season 1 or season 2? I can't remember. I think it was both.
She's done an episode in every season.
Yeah, in every season. Like season 1 was like, oh, that's pretty cool. She's picking up the same characteristics of her father. That's awesome. But after this episode that she directed in the Book of Boba Fett, like, give her either an entire series or a movie. I still need to find an HD pic or snapshot or whatever of Din Djarin in his Naboo starfighter, and that shot of like right next to the controls out at him, and you see Tatooine, like, so gorgeous, so beautiful. I need that as my wallpaper on my MacBook. I just need it. Now, that being said, I will say I was disappointed in this episode. And I made predictions. We made predictions. We're like, oh, this person's going to show up. This person's going to show up. This person may show up. That's not what I'm upset about. Because those are just predictions. We can, it could be wrong. It could be right. Whatever. When it came to this series, there was just, I felt like you said, there was something missing. There was something that there needed to be a buffer. Now, I talked to somebody who is still watching this series. They have not finished it. They're going to watch the season finale tonight. And I was being as vague as possible. And I did be like, oh, well, they're going to, this is the finale, so they're going to fight the Syndicate. And she knows most of, like, with Clone Wars and everything else. And they're like, well, they haven't met the Syndicate yet. There hasn't been an actual, like, face-to-face confrontation or conversation about this whole thing. Like, there wasn't any buildup. It was like, hey, we know something's going on. We know something will eventually happen. Hey, look, Mando. Hey, look, war. And it's just like, it happened so fast. Boom, 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 boom. There needed to be a buffer immediately after the nerdgasm of episodes 5 and 6. Like, and I still agree with the fact that this has always been Mandalorian 2.5. Like, that is okay to me. I will say, for them to just drop the final episode like that and do what it did, I felt that this was going to be more build up to a season 2, and then we see something crazy in season 2. That's what I thought was going to happen. And when I didn't see that happen, everything that happened on the screen, I either laughed, rolled my eyes, or was on my phone. And that's not great for a season finale.
No, and I think this is the longest Disney Plus episode between Star Wars and Marvel. It clocks in at an hour. The longest episode previously was Hawkeye at 57 minutes. So obviously you give some time for credits, yada yada yada. It happens. But I think and it was so hard writing my actual review for this episode. So for Full Circle Cinema, I write a recap, and then the last couple paragraphs, I do a review. And S-Bub says this was his third favorite episode. I would agree with that.
S-Bubs has been loving this, has been talking up this episode so much, and I feel so bad because everybody around him is just like, this was crap. And I understand why people loved it. I understand that people, let's get one big thing out of the way. The decision, the choice that Grogu was left with at the end of the last episode, we get an answer to that choice, and his choice was the Mandalorian. Now there was a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I think it will be. He will go back to the Mandalorian," but I don't think they understood what that meant as far as like what that really means in the long run of like that really touching goodbye that we got at the end of season 2 of the Mandalorian, and like
Because there's people who chose not to watch this show because they said, "Oh, this is the Book of Boba Fett." And so I don't need to watch it. But now they're going to be really confused when season 3 of Mandalorian starts up and it's like, oh yeah, Grogu and Mando are back together. Wait, how the fuck did that happen?
exactly. There's so many things that happen in this season that I can be like, well, that's not important, but there is stuff that happened that's like, crap, that's really important. So you definitely have to watch this show. I think as of right now, honestly, and this is really sad to say, you can literally watch season 1, season 2, episode 6 or episode 5 and 6 and then go on to season 3 of Mandalorian. Like you don't have to watch episodes 1, 2, 3, 4 and 7. Like
Yeah, you really don't. And I critiqued Marvel for this when they said, "Oh yeah, we're going to do MCU live action shows that will tie into the films and then we're going to do animated shows that tie into the films as well." And I'm just like, that's a lot of content to deal with. And now granted, Star Wars isn't putting out movies right now. So TV shows are a lot less to deal with than movies and TV shows. So I can give them credit for this. But all in the game says the fact that they couldn't stay away from involving Grogu in the show speaks to the weakness of the show / universe they're building. I think it speaks to the fact that Kathleen Kennedy has a desire to sell toys, and Grogu sells toys.
and this is the problem that I have. I want to know, Katie,
Yes.
let's say that we don't see let's pretend Book of Boba Fett doesn't even exist. Okay?
Okay.
The goodbye happened at the end of season 2. And in season 3 there is no Grogu. In season 4 there is no Grogu. Do you remember Grogu?
No.
You don't remember Grogu like at all. Like there is no indication that he ever existed.
I wouldn't think, like, as much as we can critique Favreau's storytelling, I wouldn't think that he'd leave Mando without some remnants of like, oh, okay, he's holding the ball. Not that there was like any imagery of Grogu,
No,
but
what I'm saying is you cannot make Grogu disappear. You can sell toys with Grogu without him appearing on screen. They do it with Mace Windu all the time. They do it with clone troopers all the time. They do it with Darth Vader all the time. They do it with freaking Darth Sidious all the time. Like, they
This is
have
fair.
done all of these toys with all of these different characters that we haven't seen on the big screen for years. Years. Now, granted, Darth Vader was in Rogue One. But, like, you get what I'm saying. Like, these characters have plenty of variants of toys and action figures and video games and all of this other stuff. You don't need him on screen in order to sell toys. You just don't.
right.
You own the IP.
But you maintain the legacy of his memory. Like, you would not get a backpack Grogu toy if you didn't get episode 6 of the season. So you maintain the people who are talking about it, you maintain the gifts, you maintain the reactions where he's like,
even before, so even it was after the season 2 Mandalorian season finale, and it was
Right.
before the Book of Boba Fett, we got that official piece of art or poster or whatever with Luke and Grogu creating the lightsaber with the yellow crystal. Where was Grogu then? Nowhere, because the show hadn't even been made yet as far as the Book of Boba Fett. We still get new content from these characters
That's
in
fair.
different mediums all the time, guys. Like, it frustrates me. Like, I am a big stickler, especially as somebody who has been collecting comics as much as I have, and there is a huge argument, and I have been in this conversation recently With Ray over there, he has, of course, the Flight Cast and Fans Without Borders. They make the argument that, canon shouldn't be as important anymore. You just need to make great stories. And, like, I love great stories. Canon is fun, too, because then you're like, okay, well, where does this take place? What are we doing here? Like, all of this stuff. That is fun. But I also want great stories, too. It's not like I need canon over great stories. I want great stories, too. And when you make such a great story decision to make such an emotional moment between Din Djarin and Grogu, and then like in a month's time, you're like, they're back together. It's okay. You're good. They it was just a minor little setback. They're back together, and there's been a huge argument of, oh, do you think the Disney execs were like, oh well, he definitely needs to stay in the story now. Like, that is 100. Like, I believe that is something that definitely happened as far as conversations go. And Favreau and Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy, whoever it may have been, like, had to just say, okay, it's happening. Like, Grogu's coming back.
I would agree that somebody stepped in and said, "Hey, Grogu needs to stick around." Now, would I say that the ultimatum that Luke picks at the end of episode 6 is that failing in his character? No. I think Tom, one of the Del Rey senior editors for Star Wars, makes a great point when it comes down to canon versus continuity. And y'all, I'm a timeline snob. I'm pointing to my bookshelves over here. I'm a fucking timeline snob, y'all. I like knowing how things happen in the order in which they happen. And he makes a great point where as long as the story details make sense, you really need to know if they occur in timeline order or not. And so I think that's a good point, especially when it comes down to certain portrayals, like the Ahsoka book telling her battle with Maul very differently from how we get it in Clone Wars season 7. So
SPub says if he wasn't in the next season, they would flash back to him every 5 seconds. Now, every 5 seconds is a little bit excessive, but I have said this before. If I see Luke Skywalker in season 3 of The Mandalorian, he is no longer a great legacy character that I'm just gonna be like, it's a moment when you see Luke Skywalker. You're like, holy crap, he's there. Like, the legend, Luke Skywalker, he's right there. The more and more times you see him, he's no longer a legend. He's just Bob next door, Like, it's like, hey, how you doing, Bob? Hey, more coffee. Hey, oh, you gonna get your mail? Okay, hey, it's like there's nothing special about that anymore. Like, and don't get me wrong, if there was a decision to make the Grogu and Luke Skywalker story, the Tales of a Jedi, that is different. That is putting them in the limelight and then saying, okay, that is their show. But calling this show The Mandalorian and then bringing in Luke Skywalker, you're then going to turn The Mandalorian into the way Boba Fett was in his own show. And you're just like, oh, it's Luke Skywalker, it's Luke Skywalker. And then that's slowly, like, we are starting to just downplay the importance of these characters for the sake of, like, nostalgia. Oh, it's your hero. Your hero is back. Like, I saw that statement so many times when looking at the Book of Boba Fett hashtag. When people were like, oh, I don't care about the CGI face. I don't care about the automated, voice. I don't care about any of that. That is Luke Skywalker. My hero is back. Like, everybody was saying that statement. My hero is back. Like, okay, but, like, he's not going to be as important anymore because he's just going to be there all the time in this one show that's supposed to be about these people. Like, give him his own show. That'll be fine,
And I think that comes down to the problem with telling a story over multiple seasons. We saw several times in season 1 where characters in season 1 of Mandalorian came in season 2 of Mandalorian, and you're like, everyone's like, oh, Frog Lady was in this episode of season 1. Ant Guy is in season 1 of Mandalorian, and I'm like, really? Now I gotta track all the way back to those episodes? and like figure that out, and I don't like that. And so it comes down to where you're having to keep track of these important details, and the average viewer isn't going to keep track of those. So for me, I'm always going to love seeing Luke Skywalker on screen. He's why I read the Legends, other than Mara Jade. Luke Skywalker was who I wanted to be as a kid when I watched the movies, and that's why I picked up Star Wars books. I'm biased. I can't help it. So I'm never gonna be mad when I see Luke Skywalker on screen. I can be mad about the technical details, of course, and I think overall storytelling, yes, it matters. But making sure that we have a continuity that matters more versus a canon, I think, is what ultimately matters down the line. And in the Mandoverse for Favreau and Filoni, stuff differentiates. Clay, you went dark.
Yeah, sorry, I was checking something on my other tab. I apologize for that. Now, I will say before we move on,
Actually, get into the episode because we haven't even touched the episode.
Yeah. We'll do one more ad break and then we will get into the actual episode. We will be right back. And we are back. So, when it comes to this episode, of course, this is, like I said, this episode, the Syndicate came after them. You know, it was a big deal that Cad Bane started this whole thing off with talking to them like, oh, we dealt with Freetown, it's fine, whatever. Boba Fett, Finnick, and Mandalorian were at the blown up bar. You know, like, what are we gonna do? And I will say this, if you guys want to have a really good laugh, Geekverse guys, they were, I guess, a little sleep deprived, as well as just like also making fun of the choices that Boba Fett made in this show. It was hilarious watching them live. I stayed up all night watching the show, and then I watched their entire review on YouTube, of course. But go listen to them, go watch them. It's absolutely hilarious. Now, I get what they wanted to do. This was going to be their grandstand. This was going to be, of course, the finale. This was supposed to be big. I did not get those vibes as far as like the scale, because we saw Din Djarin at the end of season 1, I believe. Yeah, at the end of season 1, take on a freaking platoon of freaking stormtroopers, and it was intense. Like, it was crazy. This was not that. And like, it was supposed to be just as like intense. I love some of the shots that we got from it, like with Boba and Mando in the sky. Yep. And like, some of the movements were really cheesy and stuff. And again, the phrasing of, oh, this is like getting your action figures and playing with them, I totally got that. Like, if you've ever posed action figures to be like, oh, this is the scene where this happens. Like, there's a moment where Boba Fett takes a really wide step in order to get his knee missiles going. And like, he also does this like ballet kick thing that like, he twists his waist, his knee goes out, and he shoots in one direction while the rocket goes in a different direction. A lot of this stuff looked really cheesy. And again, some of the shots looked great. The actual like production of it, I'm just like, this needed some work.
See, but I think, and a lot of people have said this in terms of Robert Rodriguez, I do think this is his best directed episode of the Book of Boba Fett, because his other 2 episodes were rough. But I think, especially with what we got in Mandalorian season 2 from Rodriguez, I think he's exactly what Star Wars needs. He just needs a different writer for his show to say, okay, yeah, here's the direction we want to go in. Here's the scene you're going to shoot. And that gives that gives Rodriguez a little bit of flexibility to go, hey, you know what? I want to do this scene a little bit differently. And because he killed it in The Mandalorian Season 2. His episodes in The Mandalorian Season 2 were some of my favorite. It was unbelievable how much I loved some of those episodes. And then I look at these episodes and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? And so because I think some of the campiness of the scenes that we got, some of the idiosyncrasies, they fit Star Wars. Star Wars doesn't have to be pretty. It just needs to look.
You and S-Bubs love this shot. It was the most... It is the cringiest thing that I have seen in Star Wars. Other than the Anakin floating and feeding Padme, this is like right underneath it. The scene where the modded dude like lets go of Chrysanthemum, spins twice, and then starts shooting the pikes. Like, why? Why would you have to spin? You just grab your gun and shoot. This is the kind of moments where you're just like, this is a kid trying to make like his high school like freaking filmography like career. This one right here. I
love this. No. The dude is having the time of his life.
No. I am sorry. This is what made me think that we were probably going to be completely opposite on the entire episode. I was like,
I love
Katie probably enjoyed this episode way more than I did.
I wouldn't necessarily say I enjoyed the episode. I gave it an 8 out of 10 in my review. And when it boils down to it, I think I'm about a 7 out of 10 now. I like the episode was average. It was not Star Wars greatness like some of the the Mandalorian season finales have been. It was average. And it's this kind of campy goodness. It's like, oh yeah, Star Wars is having fun. Like that's what Star Wars means to me. It's having fun. You're enveloped in a gorgeous universe with all these cool toys and these amazing characters. And you just have to smile at it and go, I'm gonna have the time of my fucking life. And spin and shoot the pikes.
There's moments like that, okay? Like for one, when like it doesn't really do anything as far as like the actual sequence and like move the story forward or anything. But when Mando jumps up and just very nonchalantly just lands on the Rancor and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna try to wrangle this thing. I'm like, oh shit, that was awesome. And like the moment in previous episodes where Grogu is jumping and like dodging the shots from the droid, like that made me smile, and it's just great. Like those moments, that's where I'm smiling. But this is like, hey, people are dying, you're gonna die. Oh, let me do a real quick spin real quick and shoot you guys because I need to survive, but I need to look cool while doing it.
But this is an average dude, and like if you look, he's actually got a shot being fired at him. So you could say, okay, he's spinning out of the way of the shot, like the GIF.
Nobody spins out of their way.
He's got to try and fucking shoot back at him. Y'all, I don't give two fucks. I loved this. And the guy, I think his name's Jordan Bolger. Like, he looks mega cool doing this. Like, I thought it was great.
It's just like, there was that scene, and then there was the one with the woman, the other mod that was like, oh, I've lived here my entire life, and if we get pushed back any further, we're gonna be just cornered, and we're not gonna survive. So we like, I don't know, when it comes down to like the moments of like, oh, how are we gonna win with love and like these random like just cheesy, cringy pieces of dialogue. This was another piece of dialogue that was just like, oh, well, what do we do then? We fight. Like, no shit. Like, you're getting gunned down. Like, of course you're going to fight back. That doesn't even have to be said. What's the actual plan? How are we actually going to survive this? Like, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear these like, oh, these yells for inspiration and things like that. It gets a little cringy and a little silly. I will say one thing that was funny, and I was hoping he was gonna die from it, but unfortunately, Mando and Boba Fett saved him. Was the Twi'lek, the right hand of the mayor, when he went
Major
out with
Domo, yeah.
when he went out with the pad. And for a second, like that whole moment before then, where Boba was like, "Oh yeah, let me get that and let me write it down." I was like, "This is a weird moment, real quick," but then it was quickly saved by the fact that he's like, "Oh, you get nothing," and I was like, "Oh, kill him, like just like raise your gun and just kill him," and then like. Because at that moment, I was like, oh, this is Boba Fett, like, not giving a fuck anymore. He's just going to be the killer that he's always meant to be. And, like, that had a little bit of saving grace to it. I think it was all in the game making this joke. I absolutely love it. Bebop and Rocksteady. Of course.
The Gamorreans.
Gamorreans. Just, like, the poor guys, man. They did not have a chance. They did not even have any, like, no time to fight. They were the first casualties of this entire thing. They were Spartan kicked off this giant cliff. Like, I am really surprised that we didn't get like echoing oinks all the way down until they splatted. Like it was kind of like just crazy, to be completely honest. But there was moments in this episode that I liked. There was moments in this episode that's like, okay, this could have been something. But because of just, like, the mess of, like, how it all just went down compared to, like, there's a 2-episode gap that didn't do anything with the story. Nothing. Except for the very, like I think maybe 5 minutes worth of the last episode with Din Djarin talking to Freetown. Like, that's it.
So speaking of which... Cad Bane is in this episode again. We won't go into all the details because y'all, I told Clay this was going to be a short episode, and this is already longer than all 3 of the previous episodes.
That is also true. That is also true. We'll skip this. I will just say this: the line "I'm not a little boy anymore," greatest line of this entire episode, because it calls back to the Clone Wars. Greatest, like, that is what I wanted to see. Like, that is kind of the storytelling that I wanted. Didn't get it all the way through, but I love that line. But I know where you're going. You're going to the post-credit scene.
No, the Cad Bane death.
Oh, okay. Cad Bane's death.
So a lot of people were pissy about this morning.
And this is what I told my friend at work, because like I said, she has watched Clone Wars. She is a fan of Star Wars. And I said, there is something in this episode that I am okay with, and I am also not okay with. I am okay with this because of the history that Boba Fett and Cad Bane have. Cad Bane is also supposedly in his 70s. He is an old man. This is the end of his journey. I understand that. But at the same time, I also am like, this is his debut in live action, and you're just going to murder him? What? Like, not even, like, keep him a little bit to maybe possibly in the future, you know, hopefully with the rumors of the Kira show still being, you know, possibly in the works, like, she is the head of, like, a whole syndicate of freaking bounty hunters anyway. Like, get Cad Bane in there. Like, cause some ruckus. Like, I want to see live action Cad Bane, and I got him for a total of 15 minutes. They were some badass 15 minutes, but I want more as a selfish fan.
Right, and so the average lifespan for a Duros alien and a Duros person is 70 years. So Cad Bane has already passed the mark for that because he was born in 62 BBY, so before the Battle of Yavin, and he died 9 ABY. So he is approximately 71 years old. So he was probably going to die soon regardless. But for me, while it sucks, yes, that Cad Bane cannot be in any future, notice I say future, live action Star Wars shows, because you still have Andor, And you still have Obi-Wan Kenobi that he could potentially be in.
Yes, you're
Um,
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But it again, it kind of comes back to the argument that Snell makes all the time. He's like, "Oh, you're always going to stay in the dark times. You're always going to stay in the dark times. Oh, we're always going to." And it's the argument that we make all the time. It's the sandbox of the Skywalker saga that we just
mhm.
cannot get out of. It's quicksand. Like that's basically what it is. We've been trying to get out of it and we just can't.
Right. But I think this death needed to happen for Boba Fett because it was the absolute end of the connection to his past life. Jabba the Hutt is dead. Bib Fortuna is dead. Most of the bounty hunters Boba Fett was working with are dead. Cad Bane needed to die in this because he had a significant connection with Boba Fett's young self. And
Yes.
it is a like you get that pause after Boba takes him out with the gaffy stick, and he just sits there for a second, and he's taking in this breath of fresh air because his old life is officially dead. That was his last connection, really, that we know is alive. So it made absolute sense to me. Matt was where you're at. Matt was like, you only brought him back for like 7 minutes. Like
I will
what?
say Ahsoka's still around. He had a big connection with Ahsoka in the Clone Wars.
Maybe, Ahsoka is in the Mandoverse, so we could see it.
You know, I was surprised
Bing,
that
we're almost done.
Mando didn't say anything to Ahsoka when they first talked in Episode 5 or Episode 6. Um, right? No, Mm, I think it was Episode. Shoot, what was it? It was Episode 6. That's right, Episode 6, because that's when him and Ahsoka talked about the whole like attachments and whatnot. But my thing is like also like he does say, "Oh, you're a killer, you're a killer," and like for a split second, I thought he was like gonna just knock him out or something, but he stabs him right in the heart, lets Cad Bane die or whatever. And my thing was at the very end of the episode, the very end. He is, bowing to everybody. He takes the fruit. He's being the daimyo, that he is always meant to be or that he wanted to be or whatever. And then at the very end, he tells Finnick, "We're not cut out for this." Is that hinting that he's going to just walk away? Do you think that he's going to give his leadership to the mods and walk away from Tatooine?
I don't think so because Boba Fett is getting up there in age, and he knows for a fact they aren't suited to the typical Gatra foundings. With uh keeping up with a traditional crime lord aspect. So he has to do things differently. He has to do things the Boba Fett way. And so we may see him try to do that. We may see him go, this isn't worth my time. Because he doesn't say anything to Finnick's, which I could have used more Finnick in this. Uh, but he doesn't say anything to her. If not us, then who? So I think that covers it. I was glad to see Chrysanthemum survive because I was like, oh, they just
There
killed
was
off
like
Chrysanthemum.
there was like 3 times where he's like, "Oh, Chrysanthemum's dead. Oh, he's gonna die. Like there's no way he's living this," and then he would just pop up on screen somehow.
Well, and Matt wanted me to call this out. There are after he comes in after the reinforcements from Freetown arrive, he comes in and he's tossing off pikes and the Trandoshans, and he's limping. Well, when he runs away, he's running just fine. So Matt wanted me to call out that little discrepancy, but I'm like, you're running for your life, whereas you're not getting shot at, and you feel a little more
Oh,
secure. So
like and I know we're trying to end this because like you said, it's getting to a long episode. But I will have to say, there's a moment where like Boba Fett is, of course, thinking about grabbing his Rancor, and he tells Mando, "Protect the people." And
mhm.
I immediately assume it's the other people that are running away. Mando runs in the completely opposite direction. Like he does, like, in my mind, I was like, you just did not listen to Boba Fett whatsoever. He's like, nope, I'm just gonna save myself. Peace out, and he just dips. Like I, there was some just creative choices here that were very odd to me, and that is what kind of took me out of it. But again, it's here. It happened. We're just gonna have to live with the fact that it had happened. I don't think Star Wars has never really tried to forcefully retcon anything, to my knowledge. So we'll see how things go. Now
I just saw this on Twitter, so I wanna just call this out because this is funny. Um, they said, raise your hand if you were expecting sound technical choices from a guy who scooped his own eyeball out recreationally.
I mean, yeah, I it's a choice,
But y'all, okay, so I think the last thing to talk about is the post-credit scene. Remember, if you want us to talk about something more in particular, feel free to shoot us a DM or a message on Twitter and just be like, hey, what do you think about this? And we'll talk about it.
Yes, and
So,
even so, before we go, and I know we're going to talk about the post credit scene, but on our Star Wars Alliance feed, as well as Katie and myself have retweeted it, we have asked you guys as the audience, what should we talk about, for our next few episodes? Because we do have things that we can talk about, but we would like to, hear your feedback as well. So go onto Twitter, give your feedback. See, if there is something specific that you want us to, have a main topic on next week, let us know. But this post-credit scene,
Cobb Vanth is alive!
do I care? Is the question. Now, Timothy Oliphant, I think is the way you pronounce his last name. I love that is my dog. I do apologize. He is right there next to me. So him as an actor, I love him. I think one of the first things that I saw him in was he was the villain in the Die Hard movie, I think.
Mhm.
But other than that, like I care about him. I never saw Justified, so I can't speak to those people at all. But I don't really like because I thought he was dead in the first place. Like, and
I didn't think he was dead. He got shot in the shoulder.
yeah, but the phrasing of the bartender or whatever was,
Yeah,
oh, they
the
gunned
phrase.
him down in cold blood. Like, okay,
Yeah,
that is okay. He is dead. He is 6 feet under. He is whatever. He's dead.
yeah. I was like, you just killed him? What?
But at the same time, showing this mid credit scene or this post credit scene of him being in the back to tank, like, what significance does it have? Like, is it just to say, oh, by the way, that one character that you guys really cared about, he's actually alive? Like, okay, I don't need that. Like, give me something that's gonna push the narrative forward, please? Maybe?
So, and somebody brought up a good point last week is what if Cobb Vanth replaces Cara Dune for Marshals of the New Republic or the New Republic show. I don't remember what it was called. But I think it was
Rangers of the New
Marshals.
Republic?
Rangers of the New Republic. Thank you. I had Marshals because he's a marshal.
But, like,
So,
would it just be in Tatooine? And then
no.
it would be a him and Boba Fett show?
Not necessarily him and Boba Fett show, but like him branching out. We got the Paul Sung Ying. Oh gosh, I can't remember the Paul pilot from
Yes.
Mandalorian season 2. We got him in this season, and he was originally, I think, set to be in that show. So, there's. I'm sorry, Benny. I dropped my lipstick and scared the crap out of him.
Out of your dog.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Benny. I'm sorry. Here, um, I think you've got a lot of potential still with that show. I mean, Hera fucking Syndulla, use her. Like, she is here. She is ready. It just drives me insane. Anyways,
Yeah, I like I said, I didn't really care for the post credit scene. I even talked to some people from our GOA chat about it. And I think that like they should have made a better choice for a post credit to, either put a nice bow on Boba Fett's story or move the narrative forward for this big quote unquote MCU style storytelling that you're wanting to do with the Star Wars universe.
Give us a Thrawn post credits, cowards.
Like, wouldn't that be something? Like, one of these post credits, all you see is like a hologram of like something of a HoloNet, and then the HoloNet goes down, and you just see this blue-skinned individual with red eyes. Like, holy shit! Like that within itself would be absolutely fucking amazing.
Definitely.
But that is it for this episode. Again, guys, if this editing sounds like shit, I absolutely apologize. Again, in somebody else's house, I should be back. Well, not back. I should be in my new apartment by the time our next episode is live. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And again, please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Screenshot it. Send it to one of us on our personal Twitters and or the Star Wars Alliance Twitter. And then there is also a post that is pinned onto our Twitter account as well to give you another chance of winning the omnibus and, of course, the $100 gift card for organic price books. Of course,
and remember, retweeting and liking that tweet does not get you an entry. It gets you an additional entry if you have reviewed / rated the show.
Yes.
You do not have to review on Apple Podcast. I know we keep saying rate and review. Apple Podcast is pretty much the standard. It's used in a lot of rankings. But if you rate us on a different podcatcher, we are more than happy to take it. You just have to send us a screenshot. So I got a couple in the Star Wars chat last week. So thank you to those guys who asked questions. Thank you to Minoc Manor, Chris, and Lauren from Galactic Gals for retweeting the tweet, because that was very helpful and it got a lot of eyes on it. We really appreciate that. And I love reading y'all stuff, listening to y'all stuff. Y'all are great. So we really appreciate it.
Yes.
Clay, go ahead and tell us where they can find you.
Yes, of course, you can find me at FanboyClay on Twitter. Of course, my link tree there shows all the shows that I am a part of, that including DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Ranger Alliance, and of course, Star Wars Alliance.
Yes, and you can find, oh my god. Y'all, I've been up since 3 a.m. Please excuse me. You can find me on Twitter. It's at Slice of Katie. You can also find me on Instagram there as well. I am trying to be more active there, getting into some reels, because TikTok, I still haven't downloaded TikTok because I just waste more time.
I waste time on that app all the time.
See, and that's why I haven't downloaded it yet. So this podcast is Star Wars Alliance. You can find it on Twitter. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the A in the wars. Very important. Don't forget it. My other podcast, Slice of Film, because I am starting to plan episodes for that. T-minus 2 months till it returns to your podcast feeds with some new people, potentially. That's all I'll say. So that podcast is on Twitter. It's at Slice of Film 1. So I want to thank everyone for being here. We had a very lively chat with All in the Game, S-Bubs, and E.D. Day coming in late with the Benedict Cumberbatch as Thrawn. I don't think that's going to happen, man, but we appreciate you being here. So with that, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you're listening or watching, and we will see you all next time. May the Force be with you.
See ya.